long time that I published a video on here, and my apologies. I was very busy with other things. But now I'm returning to my map project for Greyhawk City, and as you might have seen in some previous videos, I sketched maps in by hand and then scanned them, and now I'm adding layers with Photoshop. And I can show you a little bit how far I already got. So like as you can see here, this is how the scan looked like, almost barely colored. This is what it was. I like the fact that when you do something by hand and with pencil and color pencil, it adds all of these irregularities, and it also gives you a very direct creative flow from your mind to your hand to the paper, and then you scan it in, and there's things you can do digitally, obviously, that you can't do with your pen. And I really enjoy now the coloring part. I'm now doing this for over a week, and I started with a river in Foreign Quarter, and Claire booked the halls and the artisans quarters. I already have sketches like hand done details on the thieves quarter and slum quarter, the high quarter too, and the garden quarter is still missing, and also the outskirts of the city. So like, this is a big project, and as you can see, the whole map will fit into this document. It's quite high resolution. I think it's like 6 gigabytes in size, and has around 15,000 times 10,000 pixels or something. Let's check this. Like the image size, it's 12,000 times 20,000 pixels. So I will enlarge the canvas, excuse me, to incorporate also the surroundings of Greyhawk, which I like to detail a little bit more. I have some ideas for that too. And as you can see now, if I give you back the buildings that are isolated, and then I call it Earth, which adds a lot of flair in my opinion. So like, let's take a look. For example, I have these buildings, they have layers. If I click here to see it, that you can see the selections. As you can see, I by hand isolated all the buildings in the city. There was no other way to do this than do it by hand. I tried with the quick selection tools, which incorporates AI, I guess, but there's no other way than to just take this selection tool here and like go through it by hand. But after a while I was finished, and after you have this, you can do a lot of stuff. The other thing that I want to show you is, if I get rid of the selections now, this is how it looks like if you wait a minute. Like, if you get rid of the buildings, here you add the buildings. I applied some effects, some bevel and emboss, which gives you, if I get rid of them, like you see, like without the shadows, without anything, and without the buildings, this is how the sketch looks like. Now I just add some color, which is a basic warm brownish tone. Now I add the bevel and emboss and the drop shadow. So this gives you a little bit of depth. Let's see, for example, this, and I don't want to overdo it. I try to overdo it. I try to make larger shadows, but this adds the shadows to all of the buildings, which makes the city quite dark, and I actually didn't like it that much. So like, the bevel and emboss effect adds a sort of 3D effect to the whole buildings, and it works quite well to give it the appearance of some rooftop. We can see that, for example, in these buildings here, this looks almost like a rooftop. Like, it's not too much. If you, for example, I sketch something like this, I don't think that you should overdo these things. If it's too realistic, it doesn't get the effect. It doesn't look that good. If you want to know what I mean, go to Google Earth, zoom into your favorite city in somewhere in Europe with nice rooftops, and look from above. When you do it really realistically, it looks like a mess. Like, sometimes you have to stylize it to some point. So now adding what I call the earth and doing that by hand, that's the major part. Here you can see how different the city looks like when you add these effects. Take a look, for example, we go to, I call it Rainy City, is this small part here between, I think it was a strip or something like it, and some other street. And you see the streets, which are in contrast to the buildings, but the passageways between the buildings, which are not really formed streets, if you give them a darker feel and you add some warmth to it, then you get this kind of computer game effect. It almost makes you want to wander in between the streets, and you can feel like you could put some character there and it could walk. It's like a computer game watching it from above. So I definitely want to go for the warm colors here, and I enjoy a lot of maps very much that I saw in Dungeon Magazine back then, or in Dragon Magazine around 2007, 2008. I think was the best time of Paizo, when they created the most beautiful Dragon magazines. But still, sometimes they were, if they were very moody, that means like the colors were great and it gives you real inspirations, and then sometimes the information was lacking, it wasn't clear enough. I want to create a perfect combination between very clear to understand and at the same time very stylishly colored, so that you can imagine a certain kind of depth. And depth in this case comes from shadows. To show you what I mean, let's take one of those palm trees. Like, I just took them as a dummy. Like, there's no palm trees in Greyhawk everywhere, but like, I personally like palm trees. It's just my thing. But if I take this palm tree here on the street, you see it has a shadow. So that shadow adds this effect of depth. And this is, if you go to in the internet, you look for top-down assets and top-down maps. You can see in my opinion, the best ones are the ones that just add good shadows, because it gives you the feeling you fly over the city, but you still see depth and three-dimensionality, even though you can't see the three-dimensionally from a perspective, so you simulate it by shadows. So let's take a look how I manipulate these shadows. I don't think that you can do it automated. Like, the regularity is your enemy, in my opinion, in order to create a good map, because there's no way that you can incorporate the different heights of the buildings for the light, and to give that information to any kind of thing that Photoshop could do. So what I instead do is I go to the earth layer, I take some brush, and here comes the trick that I found out. Like, I go to opacity, let's say 50% flow, really low flow, like maybe 5% or something like this. Or let's give it a 10. And now I pick a color which is warmer than the one that I have here already. And here's now the point. Oh no, they start drilling again in my apartment. I can't believe it. I hope you don't hear that on the sound. And you don't have to go to dark. What you do is you go to blending mode and go to multiply. And what I do now is I go select, I load my selection of the river and 4 1/4 earth here. Now you see I selected this. Now let's check out, do I have the right one? Yes. I hide the selection, and now I take a brush size a little bit bigger, and now I have this multiply effect. And see what happens now. When I go over this, it makes it darker, but darker with a warm tone to it. Let me increase the flow a little bit, and then you can see what I mean. Do you see how it darkens the whole thing? And the way I do it is I look at the environment where I want to, like the neighborhood, and I think to myself, this is where the dark area is. There's a lot of buildings, and this is where like the dark alleyways are. And then I see other areas, and so like this, there should be more light. Like, a computer can't do that. I can't just look at it and say like, oh my god, there's some irregularity here, this is where it should be dark. You go by feeling. You think like, this is a really dark spot here, and then you just go over it and you make it darker. And by isolating only the areas between the buildings. For example, this whole alley here, I imagine these buildings to be higher and the light comes from the left. Let's check out the drop shadow again. This is the drop shadow that the computer generates for me. So this is a good start, but what it doesn't do is it doesn't do this. So now I make this really dark here in between, and then here we have some light. As you can see, like here it's lighter. So this one is darker than the rest. At the same time, it's warm. I make it a warm shadow. And this way you get this depth that you also can see here in, I call it the inner city, which is an area in the foreign quarter that I created. And you can really make each part of the city very interesting, but you have to do it by hand. You have to add layers. For example, here I call it the upper river quarter, which is kind of like this hilly area, like this area with the street going up here. It's higher, so I added another selection, and I created, I called it the upper river quarter. And then I isolated it and created dark areas here below this. So like if I don't isolate it, it would look like this. I would go over here and it would make it darker here and there. But now I can isolate it just to give a dark area down here, and I will also do that for the buildings. And as you can see, there's a lot of work to be done still, but I think it creates the feeling that you can really walk the city in your mind when you see it like this. You could add people here or crowds and then make it look really vibrant. And let's take a small tour of the city to show you how that works. Here we have Clerkburg House. There's still a lot of trees here. Like this is just to give me, I just copy and pasted them, and I will change them to with other trees. It's just for the positions, as you can see. If I go to Clerkburg here and I get rid of all the trees here, these were my sketches. As you can see, they're quite coarse because when you scan in colored pencils, this is just what happens, you know. And but I take it as a kind of guide for where to place the trees later, but then I can get rid of the sketches. I have a layer with the sketches, obviously. Let's, for example, go here to the Artisans Quarter, Clerkburg buildings. Here we have, this is the sketch. And you can see if I get rid of the sketch itself, then I end up with a pretty clean buildings and trees. It almost looks like comic-like. And now I add the sketch again, and later on I will get rid of part of the sketch, like I will make it more clean. This is then the cleanup work, which already started, for example, here in the river quarter I started. So to show how that works, I have a mask, and then I can just go and basically I have to go away from multiply, go to normal again, and I can go into this sketch, for example, and I would have to pick another color. Here we go. And I can get rid of, oh wait, deselect here. Then I can get rid of the sketch itself by just applying some pressure here. But I can get any line that I like because it's very random, and I can keep. For example, like I have all these numbers in my sketches, I can just get rid of them like this. Let's go to flow, to opacity 100%. Flow 40% is fine. And like this you can clean up the whole sketch, but you can leave lines that you like. So I really like this kind of combination of having the rough sketch, which makes it kind of look dirty. As you can see here, there's a lot of dirt here that it can clean up. Yeah, but you don't have to. If you like the lines, keep them there, and keep this rough feeling. And I really like the University of Magic, and how it has no entrance, and how it sticks out in the Free City Arena. I created another layer for high buildings that's cast a bigger shadow. I have it here, like this is buildings high, If I get rid of this, this is how it would normally look like, and I give them a bigger shadow. You can see that here in the city arena, which looks quite cool. And the cleanup work will be a lot, but especially here, this is like way too dirty, everything. But let's take a look at the Artisans Quarter. There's a lot of still a little bit boring areas where I will have to add some more detail to make it more interesting. Think of the whole process of creating a map like painting a miniature. You have some basic groundwork like grounding, and give it a base layer, and then you add some washes and some highlights and some detailing and some rough spots and some metal and so on, and like that you can create a beautiful map. So let's zoom out a little bit and take a look at the whole map, and zoom in and go over the whole city a little bit that I already have. And it's still a work in progress. One of my favorite parts is that I created high resolution enough to integrate my detailed local maps. You can see it here in what it's kind of my Arabian quarter called the Krilled area, named after Krilled, which is in my campaign, is where the Saqqara is, like from Forgotten Realms, like a similar kind of setting. And there's a market bazaar here, and I created a local map for one adventure and I integrated it here. And as you can see, if you zoom in, you can go really into details. And so now when you do an adventure and the players go somewhere, you can actually just zoom in and say, like, you're here. Like, there's no level of detail that you're missing. This is it, you know, you could actually see a person down here. These are single buildings. So you can go outside, zoom out, and sorry for my English, and then zoom in and really go back to the single building. And so it really feels like your players could explore the whole city. My goal is to make the ultimate Greyhawk city map and share it with the world, hopefully. And I'm more than happy to also take the Photoshop file that I have with all the layers that I isolated and upload that so other creators can use it and use whatever they like. I'm a little bit extreme. I like density. I like bright colors. I like spelljammers. I integrated a lot of stuff in here that not all people might want to use in their campaigns, but I think it might be a good inspiration to use. I definitely don't like the standard map from Greyhawk City. It has, like, I don't know, 5 buildings for the whole city. There's no way it incorporates. It's more abstract. Incorporates that people can really live in the city. Greyhawk is supposed to have 160,000 inhabitants. In my campaign, it's even more. It's like 250,000. It's a gem of the Flanders, for God's sake. So let's make it a huge metropolis, just like Waterdeep. If you take a look, for example, at the Waterdeep map, then you can see, we all know that map. It's a great map, but to be honest, the problem about this map for me is it's a little bit boring. It doesn't have a lot of flavor or a lot of spice, so to say. If you again, Waterdeep map, let's take a look at this. Let me find one with high resolution. Let's go in. The buildings, they all look the same. It's very they all have the same color. There's no shading. There's no individuality or something. It's a very good map to find stuff, but I just don't feel it. I don't feel like it's a real city. I think this can be done better. And that's my goal. I'm not saying my map is better. I like it like this. This is the style that I like, and I think it's practical for gameplay. I just like this computer game style aesthetic together with some rough spots from doing it by hand. So this is an ongoing project, and I will publish more videos about it. And if not here, then we can see each other on Discord. I'm in the Greyhawk Online, often in sharing and creating. I publish some of the maps that I'm doing, as you can see here. So look forward to that. Please like and subscribe, and look forward to some more videos in the future. Thanks so much.